Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Get ready for Talking Heads, the show where expert insights meet world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. Brought to you by USA Global TV and Radio. Meet our distinguished presenters. From the great state of Texas, longevity expert, award-winning author, publisher, and distinguished Toastmaster, red.olaughlin. From London, England, soul heart awakener, novelist, vocal coach, and artist, Dr. Madeline Chan. Also from England, the Harley Street stress expert, therapist, ambassador for peace, and speaker, Carolyn Heward. And from Australia, ICF PCC credentialed coach, entrepreneur, and leadership coach, Mariska Dupria. Experience their expertise, connect with their wisdom, and transform your perspective. Watch Talking Heads on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. This video and its contents are the property of USA Global TV and Radio. All rights reserved. Terms and conditions apply. Visit usaglobaltv.com for more details.
Howdy, y'all. red.olaughlin here. We're on Talking Heads today on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. And there are a few topics that really and truly appeal to me, much more so than others. And it's like sometimes people would say, Red, you ever written on or talked about this? And sometimes I'll have to say, no, I just have no interest in it. And it's not that it's not a bad topic. I just don't have an interest in some topics. But I tell them, if I get 3 or 5 people to ask about it, then I know there's a demand. I'll do some research and write about something or talk about it. But from a fasting perspective, my topic today, what would I do as a person who researches the human body at the cellular level, chemically speaking, looking for cause and effect relationships? To me, there is just so many benefits of fasting. It's unreal what's out there. And it wasn't that many years ago. I'm going to say 6, 7, certainly a couple, 3 years before COVID. I found this guy on Facebook. I think it was day 3. He was on a 10-day fast, water fast only. And it was kind of, okay, well, every day he's doing a 2 or 3 minute, this is what's happened to me today. And I followed him and got to know him a little bit. And I said, that doesn't seem to be too bad. And then I came across this, as part of my research, Dr. Walter Longo from University of California. And he talked about a 3-day fast that resets your immune system. Okay, that really piqued my interest. And then he had a 5-day fast, and we'll talk about that later on in the presentation today. But also in the process of doing my research over time, found out that people who had seizures, and I actually lived with a woman going to college, her husband had grand mal seizures fairly often, a couple, 3 times a day. And the way they treated grand mal seizures way back decades ago was fasting. If you don't give them food, the seizures disappear for a while. Well, you can't stop eating forever, but you can figure out what the right foods are. Just like cancer. Cancers love glutamine. They love glucose. But when Wahlberg got his Nobel Prize, most everything was based on the glucose. Fast, don't eat sugar, and boom, some of the cancers disappeared. But they were not aware at that time that glutamine also provides fuel to cancer cells. And so it got kind of a muddled post-event thought process about it. But we have, Walter Longo found out that the pancreas can regrow beta cells after about 5 days. Well, that's a big deal if you have diabetes. And in fact, they've worked with animals with type 1 and type 2 kind of diabetes and had a massive success of luck. But again, everyone's a little different. And sometimes we fast to lose weight, but then again, we go right back to our old lifestyle. And same thing sort of happens with cancer. We do something, surgery, chemo, whatever, it doesn't matter. We have a lot of things we do to treat it, and then we go right back to our old lifestyle, and 5 years later, cancer pops back up again. So there are a lot of things that fasting does. Probably the absolute biggest one, if you're doing it for any period of time and you're very conscious of what you're eating, is that you change your body's fuel from glucose to ketones. So I could keep talking on, but let's just jump into the slides here and get going. Okay, what would I do fasting today, February 27th? And we're live streaming on Amazon Fire, Zizzle TV, E360 TV, YouTube. Archives are there, a couple different YouTube channels, Android TV, Apple TV, social media. I have simulcast on my personal Facebook and my author page. And there are many more, a lot of live broadcasts out there and a lot of after the fact audio podcasts. As always, my programs are for awareness and education. Normally this is the last slide, but it seems like every time I get to the last slide, I'm running out of time. So let's just take a moment today and restructure things a little bit. I've written a few books. I have two I'm writing right now, and my website has just been updated. A couple little tweaks that still need to go, but we're working on it. But red.olaughlin.com, that's red like the color for audio audience. Olaughlin, OLAUGHLIN, red.olaughlin.com. And you can buy my books there on Amazon, and literally about another 15 or 20 different publishing places have my books too. So I'm an author, I'm a publisher. I published over 40 books for other authors. So moving right along here. I put some links on for those people who go into the archives and want to be able to say, where else are things at? Well, those are some of the links there, in addition to what can be found also on my website. I have all of my video programs on my website, and I'm hoping very soon, very, very, very soon, that they give me a search bar so people can search for fasting or cancer or whatever they need to find. Okay, kind of a little bit about me. I've never been in the medical field or the pharmaceutical field. I'm a researcher, but I use my chemistry background from college, my first degree, to research the human body, to find out what's going on chemically in the body. This causes that. Okay, can I slow that down? Can I speed it up? Can I stop it completely? Those are kind of the questions that go through my mind. Well, what caused that to happen? Okay, I go back to that. Okay, I have this chemical here now. What caused that chemical to activate? And so if you look at things, we talked last week about stress, and there's four primary chemicals, and you have abilities to tone those down a little bit, one way, shape, or form. And so that's where I provide my awareness and education. I have 5 total degrees. They're not all in chemistry. A few 7 professional certifications, 31 years in the Navy. I was very fortunate to get to 61 countries while I was there. I flew for 16 years. And like I say, I specialize in cause and effect relationships. I did that for Halliburton for a number of years, for the failures they had, for the tools they put downhole, and other things that happened in transportation and other activities. Been married 56 years as of 2024 last year. In a few months, hopefully it'll be 57 years. Couple of kids, 3 grandkids, 1 great grandson just turned a year, now walking. Thought he would never walk, but he's walking. One of the happiest kids I've ever seen in my life. Just amazing. Every photo. And of course, I'm jealous, best-selling author, 8 books, soon to be 10 books, independent publisher, distinguished Toastmaster. I have written over 1,000 articles on LinkedIn, primarily on health and wellness. Again, information is for educational purposes. And for this network, the USA Global TV and Radio Network, on the Wise Ones, it's one of the 3 shows I do every Thursday. For 2024, I was the number 2 and number 6 host. So I'm pretty proud of that. This is about once a month. I think I'm going to cover this because I'm seeing just barely changes in anything. The one thing I really want to cover is the visceral fat. I'm finally down into the 11s. It seems like I was in 12s back and forth and back and forth. So I'm finally into the 11s. Couple things went up barely, a couple things went down barely. But I think what I'll do is the last show of the month, I'll update this thing from the previous show, this one. And so what's happened in the last 30 days. So nothing much to report there. I'm getting closer to being in the 180s, and every little bit helps. So I wrote a book several years ago. One of my first was actually my second book, Longevity Secrets of Healthy Aging: How to Live to 100 Years of Age with the Body of a Healthy 50-year-old and the mind of a 25-year-old. Well, the mind of a 25-year-old happens automatically because we don't grow much beyond about 24, 25 years chronologically in our brain. It's there, and that's where, teenage, a lot of issues. We get into early 20s, start to settle down, 23, 24, 25. Our brain maximizes. We don't really grow like we do in our physical age and other things. So the 50-year-old, some of us look pretty good for 50. Some of us don't. And 100, you don't want somebody changing your diaper. You want to be fully functional and aware of it. Fasting is one of those things that controls a factor in longevity. It's called human growth hormone. As you get older, you're making less and less. Fasting regenerates almost exponentially your production. So let's get into fasting, talk a little bit about it. Fasting, by definition, it's the absence. In other words, we stop eating and drinking. Well, what if I only have tea? It's unsweet. Okay, well, maybe I can get away with that. What if I just squeeze a little bit of lemon in the water? Can I get away with that? Well, it might be a half a calorie. It might be a calorie, depending on this. If I drink it over a 30-minute time frame, I probably have no change in any metabolic response in my body. Probably okay. Now, what if I only eat a small meatball every day, just to pick something? Well, it's a non-carb. It has a little fat in it. Probably not going to do much. So in other words, I could probably get by on a minimal, and I'm talking about really minimal diet of something and call it a fast. Maybe. But people fast for health reasons, ritualistic, religious. Well, Ramadan's a big one for that. We're coming up here in many faiths on Lent, and Lent is a time for fasting. And some people do it for ethical reasons. There's lots and lots and lots of different reasons. And if you dial up health, you'll probably find fasting. There's probably 30 different kinds of fast. So there's just not one easy answer for why do people fast. But the fast can be partial, just part of the day, 12 hours, 15 hours. They can be lengthy, 72 hours, 100 hours more. They can be short, one day a week. They can be intermittent, 18 hours a day I fast. Lots of different fasts out there. And they've been practiced. Fasting's been practiced since literally 500 BC. It's something that people found out a long time ago. I stopped eating for a while and symptoms go away. Okay, well, this guy over here has that symptom. Stop eating, and sure enough, they go away. Didn't know why, but they knew that you do this, that was the result. Sometimes people fast as an expression of protest. We say that periodically for some prisoners and some people in captivity and whatever. So lots of reasons for fasting. Okay, this is kind of a trick question. What's the longest fast? You look it up in the Google, and it's going to give you a name, Angus Barbieri. They say he lost 276 pounds over a period of 382 days. He was in and out of the hospital. He had IVs with minerals and vitamins and other nutrients in it. It was medically supervised. And he lost the weight. He was very much overweight, and he voluntarily placed himself on this. He didn't expect it to go over a year, but I think a year and 17 days or something. And he maintained, I think he got down to around 180, 190 pounds. And he kept off the weight for about 5 years. That's pretty impressive. But then, I wrote a book recently, in fact, almost a year ago, on how do Catholics get to heaven bypassing purgatory. Well, I'm a Catholic. I'm very religious in that regard. I attend Mass all the time. I get lots of things I do to support my religion. And some of the things that I research is some of the saints, and it's really, I read a book on Padre Pio not long ago. Oh, that's very impressive. And anyway, so I started looking up. Heard this person fasted for 30 days. Okay. So I started doing some research. Well, I found out that there are many people out there that they fasted, but they only fasted on Holy Communion. That's the small host that's usually made out of some kind of wheat or other kind of grain, and it's consecrated. It becomes Holy Communion in the Catholic Church, and you have people that for a number of years that's literally that water or blood of Christ, the wine. That's all they had, and they had people sitting there monitoring them all, for a number of times. So some of the people, Blessed Angela, she lived during that time. I could not get a definitive time of she actually. They said yes, she did, but I couldn't find something with the time I had to research her. But that's one of the oldest ones. Lidvina, Saint Lidvina. Again, she fasted for a total of 38 years, but when you look at the details, it says she was only on Holy Communion for about 7, maybe 8 years, and that's all she had. That was it, water and that. St. Catherine, uh, again, a lot longer than 7 years, but she had 7 years of dedicated time. That the only thing she took into her body was water and Holy Communion. St. Nicholas, he had a very definite 20-year period. Now, he's kind of a neat guy. He had 10 kids. Uh, he was also able to levitate. People would come into the chapel and he would be 10 feet over the altar. But when you start getting the saint put in front of your names, there are a lot of miracles that have to be evaluated to say that person is blessed, knows they get one miracle attributed to them, or they have two or more, and then they get the title of saint. St. Joseph, uh, a lot of decades of fasting, but most of us consider it intermittent in today's terminology. Let's bump up to the 20th century. There's a French Catholic mystic, Martha Robin. Again, I looked and looked and looked and looked. I could not find a definitive time. No, I'm sorry, I'm getting confused already. She fasted 53 years only on Holy Communion water. That's been pretty much medically documented. Uh, she also had the stigmata. Those are the wounds that Christ had. Now, the stigmata can be hidden. It can be under the skin, and you do an autopsy and you can find them. Some people have them where they're visible. Some people have the strap marks on the back from the beating. Some people have the head wounds. Lots of different combinations of stigmata. And when you look at those things, that's part of that. Lola of Brazil is a mystic. Again, she lived throughout most of the 20th century. And again, very well medically documented. She lived 60 years only on Holy Communion and water. One host a day, that was it. Again, divine intervention, I would have to think so. Now, some of these people actually, during the course of a week, they would have Holy Communion every day, but they would gain a couple pounds and they would lose a couple pounds. It was just like their bodies had adapted. Blessed Alexandrina, 13 years, absolute fast of nothing but Holy Communion. One of the ones I did a little studying on here most recently is Therese Newman. Again, most of the 20th century. She's a German Catholic mystic, also had stigmata. 39 years of fasting, only on the Holy Communion and water, medically evaluated, tracked the whole time. You would think that's impossible. Well, again, how do they say nothing's impossible with the help of God? Anyway, but let's now jump into me. I've been fasting since before the pandemic, probably a couple, 3 years. I was doing a routine 72-hour fast, first part of every month. And that 72 hours would turn into 80, 90, 100, 120, 150. It just happened that I was feeling good. Why not? Let's just go a little bit further. And my philosophy is if I don't feel good, I stop. Same thing with running, exercise. Listen to your body. Your body's going to give you some clues. If you're going too far, too fast, too long, too whatever, listen to your body. So I had many months, I thought many, probably over the course of a year, more than 6, maybe 8, where I went over 100 hours a month. Last year for Lent, I said, make 120, 150 pretty easy. Maybe I can do 200. So for Lent last year, I did 200. And then for the end of Lent, I did another 200. But I found it fairly easy. Not fairly easy. I found it easy. But it all started because of Dr. Walter Longo's research in California. Now, I've had a lot of problems here recently, and I think I'll probably cover that as we're coming up. But I plan on trying to do at least a 100-hour fast to start Lent, because that's coming up here really soon. But as a researcher, I'm looking for longevity and anything that can help my immune system. Well, Dr. Longo is a researcher. He specializes in age-related diseases and anything dealing with that. Well, autophagy is a part of our normal body process. We fast, and 3 days is usually, it starts at about 18 hours, and around 72 hours, you're about 100% done. So you start out at 1% and gradually increase. So he said 3-day fast, reset your immune system. Oh, great. That's what I'm doing. So I learned more about autophagy. I've spoken on that topic on this channel many times. But he also does these 5-day fasts, and they have more benefits. You start getting into the pancreas and the beta cells, and the fact that at about 5 days, we're starting to see the pancreas start to build some new beta cells. And there's some evidence that some alpha cells can be transplanted and this and that and whatever, but that's another day. But he also coined this term fasting and mimicking diet, FMD. And this fasting mimicking diet is that you're mimicking a diet, but you're actually eating. And they have a course program they put out, you sign up for it. But he found that certain foods the body can eat, but chooses to ignore their calorie count and their impact on the metabolic rate. And it basically keeps you in a fasted state. And so there's a lot of good evidence there. And if you're diabetic, strongly recommend you check out Dr. Walter Longo, because there's a lot of videos on it. Check out Fasting Mimicking Diet, FMD. I think you'll be very pleased with that. So we talked about autophagy. Autophagy is a term, and there's a couple of mTOR and autophagy are the two. But autophagy is at about 18 hours, 15 for some, maybe 20 for others. Our body starts to do a self-clean at the cellular level. I equate it to the trashmen coming by. They come by, they pick up my trash. Thank you very much. And then the recycling people come by after that, pick up the stuff to recycle. Except for the body, they clean out our cells, but they take the stuff, recycle what needs to be recycled, and give it back to the cells. So you're basically starting with pretty clean cells all the time. So if you recycle everything and you keep the cells clean, chances are your health is going to be a little bit better than most, because you're not causing the cell efficiency to go down, because all the stuff that's been accumulated from 30, 40, 50, 60 years or more is just piling up in the cells and never getting rid of. Stuff that's worn out, burnout, whatever, is not getting fixed. Our cells are not producing the energy we need, and as a result, our health is going down. So it starts incrementally, it ends at around 72 hours, but it resets our immune function. 80% of our gut is our immune function system is there. And so if you're not eating foods and digesting and having everything go back and forth, it gives your immune system, all those cells down there, chance to get cleaned up and functional again. Now, one of the things I've talked about to many groups is the fact that when we're eating breakfast, they talk about we're breaking a fast. It's the most important meal of the day. That's a U.S. marketing ploy. We get into Western philosophy, and we have these, okay, here's our Kellogg's Corn Flakes, here's our Rice Krispies, here's our milk, here's our sugar, here's our fruit, here's our yogurt, here's our orange juice, here's our biscuit. Everything is there, and it's almost all carbs. So we start the day, and maybe way back 80 years ago, when I needed to work on the farm or in the forest or whatever, I needed a lot of food. It wasn't cereals. It was just like you'd have for dinner. But that philosophy has become a marketing ploy. And all of a sudden we get up and the first thing we want is a cup of coffee. Okay, I need my eggs and bacon, or I need my cereal, or I need whatever, donuts, etc. So I end up using my habit that I've acquired over time to keep going, whether I'm hungry or not. You know, I wake up in the morning and the last thing I think of is food. I get onto lately it's been a bottle of water with a little bit of salt in it, in order to get the trace minerals and other things I need. So I try to get through a bottle of water first, and then I switch over to my tea, which is usually between 5 and 7 different kinds of tea, all unsweet. So it's usually 3 o'clock in the afternoon or later before I actually have something physically to eat. But I'll go through a fair amount of tea during that time and maybe another thing of water. But the Eastern philosophy says, I don't care whether you have breakfast or not, it's not that important. To the Eastern philosophy, the lunch meal is the really desirable meal. That's the one that's most important because that allows you to fully digest your meal, get all the energy you need, whether you have breakfast or not, or just something very simple. But then at dinner, you have very little because they know that if I eat a lot before I go to bed, I'm not going to sleep well. A lot of issues with sleep, eating just before you go to bed. So their philosophy is totally different than ours. We have a big breakfast, go out to work. We might have some fast food for lunch. We come home, we have a big dinner, and it's interesting how the world changes with regard to our habits, our lifestyle. You have these nutritionists that say eat several times a day. I think this started, was it Turkey, Canada? Anyway, it started about 1980s, and they were trying to say, "Well, I'm hungry. Well, if I keep eating throughout the day just a little bit, maybe I won't be hungry." So that was kind of the original thought process. So, okay, let's have 4, 5, 6, 7 small meals a day, and then I won't be hungry, so I won't want to eat big meal, and I'll lose weight. Well, that's kind of strange. I'm eating all the time. Where are all those calories going? I look at it a slightly different way. Every time I eat something, I'm generally increasing my blood glucose. So if I'm almost a diabetic, I'm reinforcing my need to be diabetic because of eating 4, 5, 6 times a day. I'm never allowing my body time to just relax. You know, the time that I sleep, 6, 8 hours, whatever it may be, that's the only time I'm not eating. That to me just doesn't make sense. So there's a lot of mixed thoughts out there on it. You have people say, I absolutely swear by it. You got studies that say, it worked for that person, didn't work so well for that person. But what's your goal? Is the goal to be healthier? Is the goal to lose weight? Lots of issues there with that eating several times a day, even though there's small amounts. I don't necessarily advocate it. I tell people I don't believe in it. But again, you're in charge of your body. It's your decision. You do what you think is right, but research what's out there and see what happens. And then monitor yourself. Are you hungry all the time? But then you have to ask, I have to ask myself, is that hunger true hunger? I mean, you can actually feel it in your gut. Or is it dehydration? You know, sometimes we're dehydrated. It feels just like we're hungry. Yeah, I get the hungries. I mean, yeah, there's every so often that ghrelin will just knock on my door and say, hey, let's get some food. Well, that's my brain talking to my stomach because the stomach's been empty for a while. And then when you start, anyway, a lot of hormones going back and forth in action, and they may only knock on the door for 15 seconds and then they're gone. But if you respond in that 15 seconds, you know, you're hooked again. And maybe sometimes it's just habit. It's lunchtime. I need to leave work. I need to go find Whataburger or whatever to go get something to eat because I can't go through the whole day without eating. Well, that's a habit. Oh, let's go on here. So, what is my goal? If I'm fasting, is it to lose weight? Is it to be healthier? And that I think is the first thing you need to come to grips with. Because if you're fasting and there's a reason, okay, I'm 20 pounds overweight. I like to lose an inch of my clothes. Yeah, I look better, probably feel better. Good reason. But if I start something and I do it for 2 months and then I go right back to where I was eating in 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, I'm going to be right back that same 20 pounds. Fasting is more than just an emergency lose weight. It's going to be temporary, but whatever lifestyle you had before you started fasting is going to become predominant after you're fasting. So if I want to improve my immune function, there's a pandemic going on, fasting might be a really good thing to think about. If I just want to improve my immune function because I'm getting older, that's a good reason. If I want to improve my human growth hormone so that I have a better health because of what human growth hormone will do for me in my 60s and 70s and 80s, fasting might become a major part of why I want to do something. Because when I'm looking at human growth hormone, I'm looking at the aging, how do I look, how do I feel, what can I do, but also the age-related diseases. A lot of animal studies out there that show caloric restriction, 30% reduction in calories. So you talk to a nutritionist and they say 15 calories per day per pound in order to maintain weight. So if I'm 200 pounds, I need 2,000 calories just to maintain 200 pounds. But if I cut back 30% in my calories, I'm now going down to 10 calories per pound. Now I'm at a 3,000 calories for, I'm sorry, that was wrong. 3,000 calories for somebody with 15 calories per day at 200 pounds. It's going to be 2,000 calories per day, 30% reduction. Sorry about that. But what they noticed is that the animals, compared to their peers, they live longer, they're more active, they look younger, they didn't have near the diseases that the animals had in later life. So caloric restriction becomes a major issue, but you have to have balanced nutrition. You just can't eat donuts until you get to 2,000 calories. That's all you need. And there's a lot of doctors out there that are noticing that if I take that same 2,000 calories and all I do is eat it in a narrow window, intermittent fasting. So I take the same 2,000 calories and instead of eating in 3 meals, I eat it in 1 meal. Now I'm fasting for 20, 22 hours a day, intermittent fasting. Same 2,000 calories, I'm losing weight because the body responds differently to the timing of the food comes in. It's a big deal. Other health reasons, well, obviously the one that most of us think about is weight loss. But if I'm also fasting to reduce inflammation in the body, that's a good deal because you look at the cellular low-level chronic inflammation, that's literally the start of almost every disease that we can get. So if I can shut down some of that inflammation, I may be able to prevent disease, cancer, for instance. Especially if I'm living on a diet that's high in carbohydrates and I'm providing an environment that cancer cells, cancer loves glucose, they love gluten. And if you can restrict your glucose from them, you're still going to get gluten because the body makes it. But there are things you can do. My blood sugar, my brain health. If I start shutting down that extra amount of food, sugar, etc., my brain improves because I'm no longer activating a lot of stuff that doesn't need it. Heart health, insulin resistance goes down. I delay aging in many regards. The longevity looks like a much better deal than I would have normally. Check, somebody's giving me a message here. Okay, thank you. The cholesterol issues, hunger, dementia, a lot of issues with regard to fasting. We're looking at offsetting, especially if there's genes in your family for some kind of Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, or other dementia-related neurological disorders. Human growth hormone, our metabolism, lots and lots and lots and lots of studies out there that say fasting is good for this reason. 1 meal a day, no med. I'm pretty much on that, although to be quite honest, adapting. I'm trying to get back into my pre-shingles world where I wasn't eating and drinking after dark like I am. I had my meal a day at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, but I'm snacking more than I should after 6 p.m., after 7 p.m., after 8 p.m. Anyway, working on it, and that's probably one of the reasons why my weight loss has not been that significant since I started my accountability program in late last year. And then fasting, we've kind of talked that one to death a little bit. Alternate day fasting, every other day you fast. I tried that a couple of times, not really successful. I wish I could have been. When the things start back against that, now with Lent coming up, that might be a good reason to think about doing it. I love extended fasting. I wish I could get back into it. And that's a major thing I'm going to do here with the first part of Lent, right around the corner. You can do a water fast. It's all you drink during that is water. Dry fast, absolutely nothing. Religious fast, so you get like Ramadan, you have not eat during the daylight hours. Christian fast, during Lent, you have fasting, you have abstinence, you have things that are there. There are 30 different kinds of fasts. It's just which one do you want, which one do you need. I think what's critical is the fact that you need to maintain nutrient balance for your health. If you think of disease as being a nutrient deficiency, it's like vitamin B12. If I'm deficient in vitamin B12, it mimics Alzheimer's. If I'm deficient in something else over here, you exude these kind of symptoms. So balance is super critical when you start looking at all the hormones and enzymes and everything our body creates. And it's interesting because our body creates, the only chemical our body creates is vitamin B3. But we do everything in our power to put sunblock on and clothes up to here. We do everything in our power to avoid sunshine. Yet that's the one thing our body makes. But clearly, again, if I need it, there's a reason. Don't know why. And again, organic, try to minimize the toxins. So starting to wrap up everything here for today. What's your goal to fast? As it looked before, your subconscious mind will sabotage you all the time. So you got to be real careful about how you approach a fast. I strongly recommend you want to do a 72-hour fast, plan to do it over a series of months. Let's get 20 hours done first. Let's get 40 hours done. Let's do little by little incremental approach. But mentally adapt first. I usually take 2, 3, 4 days to mentally adapt before I get into a 72-hour fast. And recognize your feelings. Are the feelings, I've always done this, so it's a habit? Am I hydrated? Do I have a hormone imbalance? Are there some things that are working against you? You really need to know that. Start out with smaller portions. We're not fasting, we're just cutting back caloric restrictions. Maybe we're adding an extra hour between breakfast and lunch, or lunch and dinner. Maybe we're eating an hour before we normally do. There's lots of things that we can do. My typical regimen is, I'll tell my wife in advance, okay, Monday I'm starting 72-hour fast. Okay. Everybody in the house understands. I cook during a 72-hour. I don't mind. When I get a mindset, that's it, I'm fasting. I don't have a problem with the smell of something or cooking for someone else. That's what it is. But when I have other people knowing what I'm doing, my accountability is really enforced when other people know what's happening. If I don't tell somebody something, I kind of feel like, well, I should be sharing that. For me, unsweet tea, I have 6, sometimes 7 different kinds of tea. Each one has a particular purpose and why I want that one. Lately, I've been taking a bottle of water and putting it into the little teaspoon of either my gold salt or Himalayan salt. I think the my gold has 91 trace elements or minerals, and the Himalayan has 80. So there's a little difference there. But I want to remain hydrated all day. I don't want the issues should come up. And if I have something on my stomach, food, generally I'm not going to feel hungry. I try pretty much, reasonably successful most of the time, avoiding diet drinks. Sometimes all I need is just a taste. I can take a sip of one, that's it. All I need is just, I'm happy again. I tried exercising during those, but I don't have any glycogen stores in my muscles. So I used to be able to run 8 miles easily, hour and a half, hour, 40 minutes. When I'm on a non-carb-based diet for a period of time, I have no glycogen in my muscles. I can maybe get 2 miles. That's about it. I'm exhausted. I'm out. I was at the gym this past week and I started running out of energy earlier than normal. In the sun, I thought I could make a good 30, 40 minutes. I didn't have it. So, anyway, my thing is consistency is critical. We need the autophagy to clean things out. We've shifted primarily from the broad supply of glucose into ketones. That's where your ketogenic diets come from. My experience with, I think I might have one more how much time, but that's fine. Okay, 30, okay. I had a lot of success with Atkins, lost 40, 50 pounds in about 4 months. But the biggest problem with that kind of diet is the fact that your body pH changes because of the food choices you've eaten. As a result, my body is acidic, and I'm subject to bone loss. Well, we talked to you about that in the past. So with that, listen to your body, have fun, enjoy, and I will catch you next week on another topic. Bye.
Have you ever felt unheard? Like your words float into a void, leaving you invisible and disconnected? How about feeling judged, when assumptions overshadow your truth, leaving you misunderstood and defensive? And then there's that moment when someone offers solutions you never asked for, dismissing your feelings and leaving you more frustrated than before. It doesn't have to be this way. Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the listening mentor, understands. She's here to help you reclaim your voice, build stronger connections, and create meaningful conversations that inspire understanding and mutual respect. Through her groundbreaking books, online and in-person courses, and interactive workshops, you'll learn how to navigate life's most challenging interactions. Discover the power of elevated listening and transform how you communicate. Master setting boundaries and asking permission to protect your peace. Learn to recognize and release judgment, fostering empathy and true connection. Dr. Kerbeck also offers personalized coaching, one-on-one or group sessions designed to fit your unique needs. Whether in person or virtually on StreamYard, her guidance will empower you to thrive. You don't have to struggle alone. The path to deeper connections and better relationships start here. Visit drjacqueline.com or usaglobaltv.com. Join a global community of empowered listeners and transform your life, one meaningful conversation at a time. Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck is the listening mentor. Start your journey today.
5 little known secrets for dementia caregivers with Tracy Cram-Perkins.
Hi there, I am Tracy Cram-Perkins, the host of the Dementia Home Care Show here on USA Global TV and Radio. I am also the author of the book of the same name. And you'll see this QR code. This is for an extended version of the same talk. So if you want to see the full hour-long version, feel free to scan the code and go to that website. Stick with me. We'll talk about 5 little known secrets to make it a little easier to do dementia caregiving. What you're seeing on the left-hand side is a healthy aged brain, age 55 and above. The one you're seeing on the right is an Alzheimer's disease brain. It is a moderate disease. It is shrinking. It has holes in it. The memories that were in those holes no longer exist. When you're learning something, let's say in kindergarten, you learn how to tie your shoelace. Well, then by the time you're in 2nd grade, your brain remembers that information from tying the shoelace and applies it so you can learn more quickly how to tie more complex knots. So the brain is hardwired to do this for us. So it helps us learn faster so it doesn't take us long to acquire knowledge. The brain is looking for the information and they pick the closest to wherever that hole is. Let's look at some tips that we can use to help do that.
These are 5 simple tools you can use as a dementia caregiver to help your loved one. The whiteboard is a useful tool in recording the day's activities and the answers to repetitive questions. The calendar clock is a very useful tool to orient your loved one on the day, the date, and the time, and remind them of upcoming appointments. The communication cards are a great tool to bridge the gap when they can no longer tell you what's wrong. And then there's the pill minder, for when your loved one is still able to take pills but needs prompting. The final tool I want to share with you is the memory book. It tells your loved one's story. It's a great tool for distraction, redirection, also as a conversation starter, and telling you where they are in their story so you know how to answer their questions.
Music is probably the most powerful tool in your toolbox after laughter. Music is a way to maintain connection. It sticks with your brain longer than any other thing, including reading. When you're having an issue with somebody, you can play their favorite music if you move them to another room, something that makes them happy, or you can start singing songs together from their childhood. These are some of my favorite books for caregivers. My show airs on the 3rd Tuesday of every month, and you can view past episodes on YouTube. Thank you, everyone.
This program has been brought to you in part by Tracy Cram Perkins. Connect with her and order her book at tracycramperkins.com. For more information about Alzheimer's disease, support resources, and how you can help, contact the Alzheimer's Association at 1-800-272-3900 or visit their website at www.alz.org. They offer 24/7 helpline support and a wealth of information to assist you and your loved ones.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honored to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/usaglobaltv. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dyes. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.